This is the Finesse Media Podcast.
How many do you have, Damon?
I have one son.
You have one son.
Yes.
Now, were you ever scared, because Damon, you've been in the business a long time, that somebody was going to take you on the Maury Povich show?
No, I didn't think nobody's gonna take me on there, but I almost took his mother on there because. No, let me explain. Because when he came out, he had this head full of hair, and he looked like a little Mexican. So I was like, but he has my nose and my birthmark, so we all good. That's my son.
Okay.
And he is my Chicago friend. He's been helping me work on material for the Full Circle tour because I'm hosting for Babyface and Kim. And that is Damon Williams sitting right there. How long you been married, Damon?
I've been married. Well, we've been, with black people's backstory. We met 20 years ago. We've been dating 13 years. We've been married 5 and a plus.
Damon is one of the few comics I know. He just loves his.
One of the most underrated comic around. Damon, how do they reach you?
DamonWilliamsComedy.com.
Chicago everywhere. And we back another episode, another week on the Finesse Media Podcast, Season 4. I'm your host, Ken Finesse Media, and I'm bringing you something brand new. And again, I got someone not necessarily brand new. He's been on the podcast over 2-3 times at this point. He's from Chicago, Illinois, and each and every time somebody try to come on the episode I try to bring on something I'm wearing. So shout out to Chicago Cubs tonight. Y'all know I'm from Chicago, but I got a legend from Chicago, a comedian in the game. Damon Williams joined the podcast again. Like I said, he's been here before. Welcome back, my brother, Damon Williams.
Man, it's always like coming back home, man. Let's get it in. I'm glad to see you evolved to, faces on the screen. And,
Yeah. We got audio and video.
I see you backdropping that thing. Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, we got it going, Damon. But as I mentioned to y'all, man, Damon is a Chicago legend with over 25 plus years from the likes of Tom Joyner, been on stage, worked with Patti LaBelle, Aretha Franklin, Jamie Foxx, Little Richard. His ass is in LA right now doing some shit with Netflix. We're going to talk about it. So, Dave, what's been up, though? I hadn't talked with you since season 2. So what has been up? It was April in 2020 when we last spoke. So the pandemic had just hit, and now we're still in it, but we're evolving, as you mentioned about the podcast, but the world is still evolving. So what's been up with you, brother?
Hey, I tried to keep as busy as possible back in those days. So that's how we ended up doing podcasts, and we were all able to connect like this virtually. But now the world is back open, man. And, it's crazy, though. It's open, but people can't afford to go nowhere because gas high as hell. eggs $1 a piece. Eggs ain't never been $12. Eggs $1 a piece. And Putin want to blow up the world. So, I'm just trying to laugh. And now, of course, I'm in Los Angeles. Last night, Dave Chappelle got rushed on stage.
Listen.
We got crackpots coming out. Chris Rock got smacked by Will. I'm ready to go back in.
Man, it's crazy. But Chicago be everywhere, Damon. Just
Yes,
like
sir.
you said, you in LA, again, the Chicago native, and we'll talk about the things you do in Chicago. But right now you in LA, you're working with Netflix. You're doing this, not a special out there, but you're hosting some stuff and you're doing some comedy with this Netflix festival. Netflix is a joke, the special. And you talked about David Chappelle stuff too. So I want to get your thoughts on that. But what are you doing out there in LA with Netflix?
I'm showcasing, to be honest, because, man, to be honest, in the industry, my career would really span from colleges and concerts. As you mentioned, a lot of music artists I work with. And now I'm starting to get into the club. Well, I'm starting the last few years, I've been at a club strategy, trying to build my, my fan base from a grassroots standpoint to the point where I can get, 2,000 people to come if my name's on the marquee. That's my goal right now. But Netflix created this comedy festival and it's all over town. So, I know so many people in LA. So I never came out here. I never lived out here. I never slept on couches and tried to, come up in the struggle of the Hollywood machine. But I've got a lot of stripes in the game. So I made a couple calls. I called Craig Robinson. I said, I see you got a showcase with Netflix. He said, I'm like, man, you got 5 minutes, I can come get down. He's like, you want to host the whole show? Boom. That's my buddy. Craig is a legend from Chicago. Last night, it was me, Godfrey, Corey Holcomb, Deion Cole, D-Ray. We all been kicking it.
Chicago, man.
Yeah,
Hard.
Chicago definitely.
Chicago legend. Godfrey, man. He's a legend. You mentioned Lil Rel.
Yeah, that's the only person that we haven't seen. I haven't seen yet. Lil Rel.
Oh, you haven't seen Lil Rel? I thought Lil Rel was in the spot last
night. I said Deion, D-Ray, Corey Holcomb, Godfrey, Evan Lionel, who's another brother that been out here for a long time, but he's from Chicago. You know, so we was just kicking it, man, and it was beautiful for us all to get together. So I made a few calls. And so I was coming in Tuesday because I'm working in the Bay Area this weekend. So I'm like, why not come to California and you know, just to be in the atmosphere, not that I was built or because I haven't had a Netflix experience yet, but how I'm gonna get it if I don't come around the Netflix people. Right. So I'm like, let me show up. So I make a call. D-Ray called me and said, man, why don't you come in a day early, do my spot. It's part of the festival. That was Monday night. Last night, Guy Torrey, who has a fantastic documentary about his Fat Tuesday comedy experience, he had a show last night. And I just went to check it out, looked up, I'm on stage, you know, me. So the show was Deion Cole, Amanda Seals, Chris Spencer. I know I'm gonna forget somebody, but anyway, Lunel. And then after Lunel, the show was actually over. Well, he saw them comics in there. He brought up Jay Phillips. Then he brought me up, Scruncho, who was the assistant pimp. And then Mike Epps popped up and closed the show out. So it's
man, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so we out here, man. We hanging, man. It's all comedians everywhere. And then we hear our brother get rushed on stage. So I went to the after party. I didn't make it to Dave's show because that was the same time that we were doing our show. Okay. But he came to, you know, we went to his after party. He announced on the mic, like, man, there's lunatics out here. They can't quiet me. You know, it was funny, man. It was
they said Dave had 3 after parties. I was listening to Spank Horton, another comedian from the Plastic Cup Boys with Kevin Hart. He was saying how crazy the scene has been with David Chappelle and the people he brought out to that spot. But I mean, what that's like, Damon, it's crazy being a comedian. I mean, we just kind of got it not really away from the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing. And then I had comedians on the show recently, Buff Bay, I asked her about it from Chicago, but I'm asking you about it. I mean, what's it like and feeling now as a comic? Because you've been in the game for a long time and comics have been known to kind of say really whatever they want to say. How do you feel? I mean, what was your thought about either Will Smith or what happened a couple of nights ago with David Chappelle?
Well, let's put this word out to the people. I mean, if you come to a comedy show, come expecting the things and possibly rub you the wrong way. Yeah. If it happens to fall on you. But most jokes we prepare have nothing to do with individuals in the audience. But I always tell comics, with the atmosphere being so volatile right now, is whatever you say, it should be funny. So if Dave Chappelle is doing a joke about transgender people, maybe he should do a joke that a transgender person could actually laugh at. And then it's not offensive. So you got to have tact. But secondly, as comedians, we should be able to say whatever the hell we want to say. Absolutely. Because that's what the art form is. That's the whole point of us, to be counterculture, for us to be anti-politically correct. So you shouldn't come to a show with any type of agenda or preconceived notions or a hashtag moving in your mind. If that's what you want, then comedy's not for you. Go watch a soap opera or go to an opera. Or,
no, seriously though.
Yeah, because don't bring your personal to the show. Yeah. But secondly, you're not entitled. If you don't agree with a comedian, I don't care what he said. If you talk about you, your mama, your daddy.
Yeah, if it don't apply what they say, let it fly.
You cannot rush up and assault me. Okay. Yeah. That's you crossing the line. My words are not assaulting you. Yeah. And personally, I've been rushed on stage.
Hey, you have?
Yeah, maybe 15, 20 years ago, man. Back in the day, it was a dude from Gary, and out of nowhere, he just came up to the stage, and I saw him approaching. I'm like, I know he was on, his energy was off. And I was on my square, so I'm like, dude, I don't know what you on, but if you come up here, I'm gonna hit your ass with this mic. And he just rushed me, right? So he rushed me, and we tussled. We went down the steps of this little comedy club. It was about 2 or 3 steps. Broke through the drywall. Security came. Damn. Yeah, security came and hog tied him. Basically, I had some goons. He grabbed it, took him out of there. He lost it. He had a big old gold chain on. He lost his chain. He was complaining. I was a $5,000 chain. Should have never said that because that chain vanished.
Right, quick.
Right. But my point was it was unprovoked. Now, it might have been something I had said previously at the show, and he's like, next time I see this dude, I'm going to get him, whatever. So I try now, with much more experience, to be tactful. So even if I'm roasting somebody somewhat, or if they heckle me and I got to respond, I'm not going to respond in an aggressive manner to the point where it's like I'm testing your manhood or you testing mine. Yeah. And then the best thing for us to do to diffuse the situation is to tell a joke about yourself. Like, you right, dog. I'm looking at your shoes. You'll beat my ass. Now, 9 times 10, if you my size, you're not gonna win because I got hands. But nowadays, when you got hands, you can't win a fight because now they want to shoot.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
you gotta take the L.
They're not even fighting.
Yeah, you gotta take the L even in a fight. So it's a different climate. But please believe that most circumstances we do have security. Chappelle showed that as soon as dude ran up there, the goons came and stumped him out, broke his arm, and he went to jail. So now you got a broke arm, you're in jail, you're all over social media. And that's the thing. A lot of people are doing this for clout. And, they want the shock value of the social media viral situation. And it's unfortunate. But 9 out of 10 times, people, if you come to a comedy show, probably 10 out of 10, nothing like that's going to happen. You're going to have a good time. It's the most pleasant atmosphere you can enjoy. Who don't need to laugh and get some stress off? So
that's what I'm
let's
saying.
Bring comedy back to being laughing, even if it's across the line, or Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor and Redd Foxx, they have to worry about watching their mouth. They talked about stuff that was foul as hell. And expect that, especially if you know who you coming to see. Yeah,
don't go see a Corey Holcomb show, man. I tell you that.
Don't
brother.
do that. If you're sensitive or you got a date or you're a woman with really high self-esteem, that's not for you. But you know that going in. So you look up and they walk it out early because they're like, I done heard enough of this. Well, you knew coming in, that's what he does. Yeah. So it's the same thing. It's white comics that do a whole category called cringe humor. They talk about the most foul shit on earth, but because that's their lane. But people come to hear them do that. It was a comic, man, his name, damn, I can't think of his name, but he's a quirky white guy. And he had a joke, and I don't know what profanity is on your podcast.
Oh, we good. This is an adult show.
So he said, you ever think about something really weird and you don't want to say it out loud? So he was like, and this one, she was like a child actress. He said, you know what? I sure would like to fuck that Dakota Fanning. And she was about 12 at the time.
Oh, whoa.
But that's his type of humor. And people know his name is, damn, it's right on top of my head. But anyway, there are categories of particular comedy. Don Rickles, going back into the 60s and 70s and 80s, he was an insult comic. That was his job. He would go around, racial insults, financial insults, cultural insults, and he would roast people. That was what he did. But people would sit there and they'd take it. Even with Will Smith in these situations with these award shows, you go to award shows, especially the Golden Globes, the SAG Awards, the host is roasting everybody. Yeah. So you expect that. So for him to say that little quick thing about G.I. Jane, which was a cool joke, wasn't even hilarious, wasn't even hurtful. She looks like somebody with a buzz cut who could play G.I. Jane.
And it was sort of a compliment if you would reference the movie.
If she gets that role, I bet she'll thank Chris.
And she wouldn't deny it, I think, either. She would certainly take the role.
And she kind of just rolled her eyes, but Will laughed at first. And then, as Will Smith being with his stature and status, there's no way he should have got up out that seat, slapped Chris Rock, and then sat there and cussed on live TV, knowing that it's going to be a problem. But we wouldn't even be talking about the Chris Rock, Will Smith situation if Chris Rock would have just ducked.
Yeah. But did you see also Chris Rock jump on stage during this weekend and say, "Hey, was that Chris Rock?"
He said, "Was that Will Smith?" Yeah.
That was cool.
So he's making light of it. That's what we got to do. We got to be able to take a joke as well. So it's it's a sensitive, old soft ass society we in.
Yeah, it's different.
And not to say that being offensive and derogatory was proper in the era when it was being done, 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s. There was a lot of homophobia and misogyny in that type of comedy, especially for Black comedy on Def Jam and such, but we've evolved, but still, it's still an art form. It's still about laughing. And don't bring your feelings to the comedy show. If you don't like that, if you don't want to hear that, don't come hear it. It's not mandatory. Nobody woke you up out the bed, put you in handcuffs, and dragged you in the comedy club.
Absolutely. No, it's a place to escape, to enjoy, laugh. If you drink, have a good cocktail,
and go to the edge, say some wild shit. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. That's what we are here for, to say shit that you might think or even not think, but you won't say it because it's inappropriate, or you're scared to say it, or it has consequences. You should have no consequences for comedians.
And so just like back in the day, David, we saw you on TV. Again, this man is a legend. He has not only just been on stand-up on stage, but back in the day, you were on Jenny Jones, and we talked about that last time, but so I won't go into that. But we'll be seeing you more on TV with our homegirl, Chi-Town comedian actress, SHERRI Shepherd. We played the clip and just showed you on the Wendy Williams show when you were there. And that love is what I love about SHERRI Shepherd, is because what she does is really look back for her people, and certainly her Chicago folks. So we saw you on there, and we know that you and SHERRI have a good relationship. Do you plan to do any work or be a recurring guest on her new show that's set to premiere this fall, SHERRI?
That is the ultimate goal, and it's something that she's pushing for because she likes our chemistry. My point and purpose with SHERRI was to write for her because she was on tour with Babyface and Kim. And so, you know, and she already had the joke. She's already funny. But, you know, when you're in Hollywood, you've been doing other things, the stand-up muscle needs work. And she didn't have time to really go in these clubs and you know, get her chops together. So I went out on 2 of the dates with her. I'd already given her some notes, but I watched her set to see what she was doing. We did a weekend in Carolinas with Flame Monroe. Shouts out to Flame for the plug.
Shout out to another Chicago win.
Shout out. And I watched what her personality is on stage, what she does. Oh, motherfucker.
We good. We were talking about being on tour.
I got you. I know where to pick up. Okay. Yeah. 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 So basically, you know, I watched what she does. I got her chemistry and her timing and such, and I gave her a few notes. And the thing about SHERRI Shepherd, which I was really impressed by, is you give her a note, she goes right out and try it. A lot of times, people don't want to try a new bit, you know, on a big concert stage. You know, it's 8,000 people. You know, you try that in a small comedy room. She went right up. She did it. It killed. She was so happy. She came backstage. She was dancing. If you look, I put up videos on my, you know, recaps of how we kicked it on the road. So the next thing is, while we were going over her material for her concert appearance, they were also writing the monologue for that show that you saw me in the audience for. And I was able to contribute to that, and they used all my notes. So now she's like, I need you when I get the show, I need you to help come in on in. But it's, you know, it's a hierarchy with writing and Writers Guild and all that. So I have to work my way through it. But once she's solid in the position, not only do I anticipate being in behind the scenes, but also pitched her a feature of Let's Ask a Man. So my job would be to have the male perspective. They are doing Hot Topics. You know, it's all women in the studio, so they need a male perspective. Like, so go to Damon, Let's Ask a Man. So I'm looking for that. That'll help everything I'm doing across the board. It'll open eyes for the industry, to sell more tickets for the smaller shows and such. And that's my goal. My real goal is to actually be a full-time stand-up comic. But I've been acting and doing other things as well. I got a movie just dropped called Can't Get Right, with me and Shawty and Rodney Perry and a bunch of other people. It's one of those online on-demand joints. I'll have it posted on my Instagram. Damon Williams.
What's the title again?
Can't Get Right.
Can't Get Right.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, look for that. It just dropped Friday. We had a little fun.
Congratulations, man.
You know, it's a spoofish movie. You know, it's goofy. But I play a gangster. I play a mob boss, basically, a black mob boss. And that in itself, you know, it's not a stretch. Just people don't know, you know what I'm saying? I'm from the shot. But it's an interesting difference as a comic. I'm not really doing anything funny in this movie. It's a dramatic role for me in a goofy ass movie. So look forward to that. And you know, White People Money is already out. That's a film with Drew Sidora and Bart Fitzpatrick, who was in On the Shine. He was also in The Power with Tommy. He played Reggie on the Shine. And so I'm moving around. You know,
Chicago be everywhere. Hashtag. No, you all will get that branding, because that's literally your thing, Damon. You moving around, you shaking. As you mentioned, Chicago. I'm gonna take it back to Chicago because that's kind of where I saw you first. Not really first, but that's why I met you. In clubs, moving around with a good friend who is also a friend to the show, Sakun Walker. One of my good brothers, one of my solid friends, SAW Productions. This man has been in the game for so many years, and that's why I wanted to have him also on this episode this season. So he'll be coming up, but I want to talk to you about that. Being in Chicago, it's a little bit different, right? In Chicago, for those that don't know, we have a lot of comedy sets. It could be at a banquet hall, it could be at the back of a restaurant, but the place is packed out. People paying full dollars, as we said, come and have a good time, paying the bartenders. But what that's like, Damon, being around still in the trenches of Chicago. Shout out to Francis, man. That spot can stay open all night long. But what's that's like being still in Chicago around the tribe of people, like we mentioned? Deion Cole still comes back, Laurel still comes back, but Sakun has been putting this comedy special on for over a decade now, and you still pop up, here and there. How does that feel being around Chicago? Just in the living room is what it feels like.
Yeah, and not only that, it's the laugh, man. You know, Chicago audiences are very savvy when it comes to comedy. They will give it up. They will laugh hearty if you're funny, but if you're not, you will know right away. And so, you know, if you're in a theater or an arena, so let's say I'm in a theater and it's a 5,000 seater, 2,000 people could not enjoy that joke. And if 3,000 people laughing, you would never know.
You never know.
But if you had Day 21 on Tuesday, which Sakun does with Marlon hosting, and it's 29.
Shout out to Marlon Mitchell, man.
Indeed, one of the greatest. If it's 30 or 50 people packed in a small room, and 20 of them 50 don't laugh, and they sitting right there, you get instant feedback. So you got to bring it, you know, and that prepares us for the large stage and for the world at large, because we have such dedicated rooms Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday and Saturday. I do Riddles Comedy Club, where you can go and see some live comedy, and where comics can go and display our craft with a receptive audience. Sometimes, not always, you know, like Francis, some nights, some people, they not listening, but you got to make them. And if you make them listen, they're gonna ride with you. They're gonna laugh their ass off. So that prepares. That's why Chicago has such a strong presence on the comedy landscape. If you look around, the history goes back to Marshall Warfield, who was on Night Court. Actually, people don't say it, but Red Fox, he was born in St. Louis, but he cut his teeth in Chicago. When he was hanging out with Malcolm X, he was known as Chicago Red, and Malcolm X was Detroit Red. So Red Fox,
no doubt.
Yeah, so that's real history. Now you look forward, and it's the 90s, and you got Dale Givens, Kenny Howe, George Wilbur, Bernie Mac, who opened that door by going to Def Jam, Sonya D, Corey Holcomb, Deion Cole. Then the next wave was me and Tony Schofield and Marcus Combs and Leon Rogers, you know, JD, you know, and some of the ladies like Diane Corder, who opened the way for us, Tyra Terry. Now the next wave
Miss Sherelle,
now
Jess Niche, all these women.
Corey Bell, T. Murph, who's killing it on their show Woke. And the list goes on and on. So we've raised each other. You know what I'm saying? Each generation has looked back and done things. There's plenty of other names that I did not mention. I hate to do lists because people be like, man, why you say?
You're right. All the Chicago talents.
Uncle Rail, you know, who is a Chicago favorite. He don't travel much, but everybody in Chicago love that dude, and he know how to tell the story, killing it. So it's just, and it's diversity. Now the comedians like M. Brown and Dave Hellum, Hannibal Buress, these guys have infiltrated the mainstream circuit. So they go into the white clubs, and you know, now the white clubs understand that Black comedy on the South Side is versatile enough to come up north to the Laugh Factory, and they're giving them nights. So the future is bright for stand-up, and it's a beautiful thing to be one of the Renaissance pioneers, because I come up in the 90s, you know, and I did all I could to, you know, to extend the branch back to that next generation. And sometimes it's return, the favors return. D-Ray he had a game show at one point. Who called me up? D-Ray. I'm the first person to put D-Ray on stage. You know,
that love for sure, Damon, is also what is consistent. And I don't know about other cities and how other comics connect if you're, you know, in LA right now, but I know that Chicago is just not killer talent, but everybody really love on each other, support each other. It's a tribe, man. I love it. I love it so much. Also, Damon, as mentioned in Chicago, and you're being a Renaissance person, you've consistently been at Riddles Club. We talked about that in season 2, but I know when this aired, you have already had your Mother's Day special. But talk about the Mother's Day special that's coming up at Riddles Comedy Club.
Phenomenal situation, man. So it started out Kelly Kales, who's from Milwaukee, but she spent a lot of time coming through Chi, and I watched her grow from the beginning of her career. She was my headliner. So she was once there with the Funny by Nature ladies tour with Just Niche and Shima Franklin and Crystal P and her. Well, she's a headliner on her own. She did the All Def Comedy on HBO with Russell Simmons, or with Bob Summerton and the cast. So she did her thing. She was going to be the headliner. So I out of respect, because I respect my OGs as well, Myra J., who was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show and was with Robin Harris back in the day on that lab here in Chicago, in LA, at the Comedy Act Theater. You can Google it. It's a lot of history with that. And she held her own from Chicago. I'm gonna show her some love, bring her to. But you know, we were all on Tom Joyner Show. We were all friends with Tom and J. Anthony Brown and George Wallace. So George Wallace saw that Myra was coming to Chicago, and he booked himself a flight and got himself a room and said he just want to come do 15 minutes or so.
Sweet.
So the legendary George Wallace made his way to Riddles Comedy Club. And so it's just, and that's just relationships and friendships that I've developed over the years. So that's the generation before me reaching back and extending their hand to me and showing me love, and me doing the same in return. So comedy, man, it's a beautiful scenario. We're all supportive of each other. Of course, there are times when people have issues, or there's rifts, or there's insecurities where people feel like another person might be a threat to their opportunity. So that's human nature. But overall, we support each other, we love on each other, and we come and do each other's enterprises. So that's why Riddles is thriving, because of my personal relationship with some of the comics that would not have been in a place like that had it not be for us having that relationship.
For sure. Hold tight to riddles, Damon, because I miss jokes and notes. So hold tight to riddles. It's certainly one of those precious jewels, as with jokes and notes. Shout out to Mary Lindsay and her daughter, Mary Lindsay. Those sisters, women held it down for many years. So hold riddles down for us, Chicago folks.
You can't even talk about jokes and notes if you don't talk about All Jokes Aside. Which
I forgot about all jokes aside.
All Jokes was the epicenter,
yes,
man.
It was.
Anybody.
I was a little young then. But my mom.
I'm trying to give you the game. Let me give you some quick because I got to get out of here. I'm hosting Craig Robinson's show. All Jokes Aside was the epitome of excellence in comedy. There were no black-owned comedy clubs, maybe 5 or 6 back then. It's probably only 10 now. Mm-hmm. And All Jokes was the place where you come see George Wallace, Shirley Hemphill from What's Happening, young Chris Rock. You know, Chris Rock worked on his special, Bigger and Blacker, at All Jokes Aside. He did 9 shows. After that, it became the special. Chappelle was there when he had a festival. Bruce. Everybody came through this club. I mean, Steve Harvey, all 4 Kings, Bernie Mac, Adele, all the queens of comedy, everybody's been there. And that was the place that set the precedent for how a black-owned or any comedy club should be run. And then they all went on to do theaters. You know, Bill Bellamy, everybody came through this spot. So it's where I was birthed. My Wednesday night birthed people like Corey Holcomb, D. Ray, Marlon Mitchell got his first night up there. And the list goes on. So it's a beautiful thing. Got to mention All Jokes. All Jokes, Mary Lindsay was part on there, and then she went on to spin off to Jokes and Notes, and then Jokes and Notes led me to go ahead and grab riddles so we can have a spot to keep the tradition alive. Sweet. That's what's up.
And I know you got to get out of here. And Damon, you're in LA doing things with Netflix and you're hosting tonight. But before you get up out of here, normally on the podcast, I ask my finesser, which is you, who's that person that's finessing the game? But you're a comic. So I want to know who's on your Mount Rushmore for comics, male or female or mix.
Yeah, it's that's always a tricky question. Like list is like doing the top 5 NBA players.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give you some hot shit. You know, Eddie Murphy influenced me. Eddie Murphy is the most talented comedian in my, other than Jamie Foxx. You know, he's talented, but he's not as comedic when it comes to what Eddie did for me in my life personally. So Delirious was the first video I ever saw as far as a VCR is concerned, and it was the funniest shit I ever saw. And I've seen him live twice, and the man literally hurt my rib cage and my face. But he got his game from Richard Pryor, who is the GOAT, undisputed, no denying. He is the GOAT. But there are people like George Carlin, who had about 12 HBO specials. Chris Rock is amazing to me. Chappelle is doing his thing. But the people that make me laugh, there are people like Tony Roberts, who is unsung as far as that Mount Rushmore goes. George Wilborn was my mentor. Bernie Mac is amazing. So right there, that list right there.
That's it. That's a powerful one.
But I like women though, like Ellen DeGeneres, believe it or not, was one of the funniest people. Wanda Sykes is hilarious to me. All the queens of comedy. Samora is a beast.
Yes.
Yes. I tell you, if you go see Samora in 2022 and you go back and see her in 2023, it's a different show.
Yes,
she puts in the work.
Yeah, you on that Royal Comedy Tour. Shout out to you, man. You brought me backstage, and I missed some more, and the love was still there. Again, man, Damon, you've been showing love to me, and I appreciate you for coming on this podcast again for the 3rd or 4th time. I don't know, but I would love for you to come back. You got to do it again. I wish I could talk to you more about the tour that you're doing already. I know you're traveling into different states, so keep on to his Instagram and on his social media pages to keep up with those tour dates, Damon, because I don't want to keep you anywhere longer because I know you got busy things to do out there in LA. Chicago folks be everywhere, Damon. So again, thank you for joining this episode tonight on the Finesse Media Podcast. If you want to let people know how they can follow and keep up with you, I'd like for you to do it.
My website, DamonWilliamsComedy.com, has all the links to my socials, but Instagram is where I'm most active. I'm always on the gram, and that's myself handling that page and making the videos, and everything is posted. It's all me. I answer all my DMs or whatever, and that's Damon Williams Comedy as well. So, if you can't find me there, find me here.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate it. Damon Williams, all the way from Chicago, a legend in the game, definitely hands down one of my favorite comics. And he just so happened to be from Chicago, where I'm from. So thank you again for watching another episode of the Finesse Media Podcast, Season 4. I'm your host, Ken Finesse Media, and I'll see you next week with something brand new. Peace.
All right, look who it is.
Hey, everybody.
The one and only
Sherri Shepherd.
Of the new coming soon.
Oh, talk show Sherri.
How about that?
This has been another edition of the Finesse Media Podcast. Join us again next week for the latest news from HBCUs. Special guest